What is up, everybody? Y'all hanging in there? Welcome to yet another episode of the Crash Bang Boom podcast. Today's guest is drummer, clinician, teacher, studio drummer, and all-around high-energy wild man in Scott Pellegrom. Scott and I delve into the creativity on the kit that he embraces, hand and foot technique, and some of the misconceptions around those aspects of playing, the challenges of standardized schooling, exotic birds and monkeys, plus a whole lot more. So I hope y'all dig it. It's a wild ride. Crash Bang Boom podcast can be found on iTunes Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, Luminary, Google Play, Podbean, and Amazon Music Podcast. Feel free to check out any of the previous 200 plus episodes. Give me a like, a subscription, and or a positive review. Shout out to my sponsor, New Orleans Record Press. If you're looking to release some vinyl, hit them up at neworleansrecordpress.com and check out all the electroplating, mastering, design, packaging, vinyl coloring options, and they got that real-time quote generator to add it all up and keep tabs. They also print 12 and 7-inch records in 150 and 180 gram variants, and they do small runs of 100 and larger runs up into the thousands. So hit them up, and that's neworleansrecordpress.com. As venues and musicians weather these tough times, do keep tabs on artists' live streams, lessons, tutorials, and master classes from your favorite musicians, merch or physical releases that are for sale, as well as websites like saveourstages.com looking to assist venues in these tough times. So without further ado, Scott Pellegrom. No shortage of information, rants, and all that jazz. Look out for a series of videos, courses, records, and more as we head into 2021 from Scott. Crash Bang Boom.
Crowds go mad with joy.
Yeah! All right, I'm here with Scott Pellegrom, a fantastic drummer that I've been very interested in talking to for some time, so this should be cool. Both a studio drummer, a clinician, a motivational speaker, works in film, does all the kinds of things, all-around creative guy. Scott, how's it going, dude?
It's going. How are you?
Pretty good. Was that an accurate enough introduction there? Do we need to add anything to that?
Man, you could say, single, pretty good looking,
pretty
nice
good looking
guy.
Band whore.
Band whore. I am definitely a band whore. I will drum for food. I love RVs. I'll take a free RV, and anything else you throw in, I'll Venmo you.
Nice.
You know?
Awesome.
I think you're already up to about $250 with the compliments.
Awesome. Sweet.
So I think you got to stop there, and now you can just trash talk me.
Excellent. Cha-ching. I'm about to totally talk shit on you this entire episode.
Yeah.
It's called a roast, and you're about to get charred, my friend.
Roasted. Yeah.
Well, man, with the bizarre year of 2020, it's kind of the ongoing way to start these interviews off because of how strange it was and all the aforementioned things that you do. How was 2020 for you? And maybe with a lack of some of those outlets in the drumming world, what did you find yourself doing? Because I know you live in Michigan and you like doing outdoorsy shit. Were you doing that?
Yeah, that was pretty much, I kind of felt like it was the universe and Mother Nature saying, all right, homeboy, you've been traveling and busting your ass and like sacrificing your life to be the, not just a musician for a living, but like a monk for music, and I always kind of had never regrets in my life, but I was like, man, I miss this wedding, or I miss this birth, or I miss this birthday, and I miss this birthday and this birthday and this birthday, right?
Yeah.
Always being gone. Last year kind of just made me refocus my entire everything.
Yeah.
Like who I am, what am I doing, what do I identify as a human?
Yeah.
That my entire life, literally, absolutely inside and out, backwards, forwards, is completely music. Like all of my friends, all of my business, all of my work, all of my traveling, even how I eat most of my food is based completely around music and creative life. And when that was shut down, it made me think about a lot of stuff. And I realized there was definitely things I didn't think I took for granted, because I'd like to think I'm humble, but I'm not. I'm learning to be humble. And I'm learning to be even more and more thankful and grateful and blessed to be alive every day. But that year, that double named year that we shall not mention, definitely helped me. It was actually probably one of the best years ever. It was kind of like having your enemy be your best teacher type of thing. Mm-hmm. It made me really strip down who I am as a person, as a musician, as a player, as a mentor, as a student, so many things that it really changed my life. And I've kind of come out from the dark side Feeling very renewed, really refreshed, and extremely fucking focused. Like, I've been working insane hours. 2022 to 2023, people are going to be so fucking sick of seeing my face because I've been recording and doing master classes and workshops and product videos and interviews and like shit nonstop. I haven't been sharing anything online. I pretty much blacked out social media this year. And intentionally, I'm just like, whatever, that's not my life. I love it. It's blessed. But right now I'm focused on me and the music and the art form and being just blessed and thankful and grateful to be alive. You know, every day I wake up and go, I'm thankful that I have a fucking roof over my head. I have clean water to drink and to bathe in. And I have food on the table and 2 fucking awesome dogs. And I'm not on the street.
Yeah.
You know,
Not bad.
was just in LA and there are thousands of people living under the bridges.
Yeah.
I'm in an okay place right now, you know? So last year really reset me huge and made a big reality check. So a roundabout story you'll find with these interviews. You ask me a question and I'll go for a while, but I'm just trying to be honest because I'm not here to like hype shit up for people.
Yeah.
Because the music industry and the music business, the music lifestyle, the music as a monk, so to speak, it's something you commit to, and it's not about fame. It's not about money. It's not about gold or having like, you know, 1,000 brand new pairs of shoes every day. Like, it's not fucking hype, you know?
Yeah.
Your attitude, your mindset, your vibe, your personality is hype. The way you treat yourself is what is important in this industry, you know? And I think a lot of people are kind of waking up to that because we see the music industry got its butt kicked last year.
Yeah. Yeah. I have so many friends that work as like audio engineers for like conventions or just audio engineers for shows, or like, God forbid that you own a venue, like, or a touring musician. Like, I mean, artists. Yeah. Ouch.
Well, think about it. So that, I mean, the way it kind of works out, I feel like in life, like you can be a Jatman or a jack of all trades, master of nothing type of thing in the music world, or you could be someone who really does commit to a couple things. Mm-hmm. Think about those touring musicians who are the top touring musicians in the pop game that are always, you know, having the biggest pop gigs, the biggest world tours. They've made their entire life and career strictly on touring. Mm-hmm. And they set their life up from tour to tour to tour, being the best of the best, and then all of a sudden that's entirely shut down. It's like, well, what do you do now?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you should be teaching, or you know, you should have had a home studio, but that was never a part of your life, and it was never a necessity, you know? And most of the time, why would you build out all that if you're going to be on the road all the time?
Right.
You're trying to save your money.
Yeah.
Not, you know, have some $6,500 a month mortgage or something. So I think for all of us, it was a big wake-up call.
Absolutely. As a guy who stresses creative approaches to mixing up one's voicing on the kit, how much in your opinion, is reliant upon both maximizing maybe simple patterns, but voicing them as broadly as possible, i.e. sort of get more mileage out of an idea or two, and or sort of minimizing your kit to force you to explore within smaller ranges and having to focus within lesser options? Like, is that part of that?
Yeah, I can even break it down like even more basic, because a big part of my approach that I try to always keep, that like, man, I'll read the Holy Bible, I read Zen, I read Taoism, I'm always into Buddhism, I'm always into spirituality and religion and philosophy, because also music and message is always a big part of that. Mm-hmm. And I'll look at it this way. Like, if you want to get something out of life, you got to start seeing it in all things. So if you want to start being creative or seeing music as a part of your life, like right now, I'm looking at my Primo water dispenser and my mason jars and my dog treat jars and these dried herbs. My window here, everything around me is fucking sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So start playing it. Pick up a jar and see how many sounds you can get out of it. You're not there to impress or make millions of dollars. You're not there to get a fucking viral video. You're there to see what the universe has provided you and fucking make some magic out of it, right?
Yeah.
You start there. Go to your vent in your house or your apartment. Go and jam in your shower. Flush your toilet. Tune your ears to what the birds are singing. Like, it sounds like hippie bullshit, but no, it's just reality. Like, open up and allow yourself to be a vessel for this stuff, and it will start happening. Like, I get most of my practicing done because I get occupied like washing dishes, or like when I'm re-rigging a rod and putting new line on, I start messing with the drag on my reel, and I'm like click click reel click cast, like
Yeah.
that's how I think. And like, okay, now you get to cheat and you get a fucking snare drum and a kick drum and a set of hi-hats.
Right.
If you're saying you don't have enough, man, get out of here. Get out of here. Like, your body is full of creative. Look at what Bobby McFerrin can do with his voice.
Mm-hmm.
Look what people can do with hand boning, playing their body, or just playing with the traditional form of bones in your hands. Like, you really got to just be thankful and humble and blessed that you get to play a drum. Right there is going to give you a different approach on how you play it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how I look at a lot of that stuff with the teaching, with the gigging, with the recording, with discovering identity, how it's kind of helped me stay really busy. Like, I've been really, 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 really busy. Even if some stuff isn't making money, I am constantly tracking, making loops, doing samples, working, writing, collaborating with artists, traveling back and forth, starting new projects, financing a lot of different things on my own, whatever I can to stay active and creative. And it turned to the point of like, I didn't have enough outlet, and I really love cooking. I love fishing, foraging, and gardening, that I've also been able to push and excel in that direction too.
Mm-hmm.
Because of not being able to tour and travel and do clinics and be out on a nice like 5-date fun tour or playing music festivals. And now I'm building stuff, I'm designing more things, coming up with more products, and just keeping my head down, and then getting mouthy when I get interviewed, and then I shut the fuck up and get back to work.
Right. That's funny, man. Well, with the more sort of creative modern players, and I certainly consider you to be one, the JoJo Mayers, Chris Daves, DeAnthony Parks, Nate Woods, Mark Juliana's, all of those guys. I think one thing that they all share in common is a reverse engineering of electronic music and sort of tweaking one's sounds to approximate some of what might have been electronic sounds, but rather than use electronics to make them, you sort of alter acoustically what you're doing. And you're certainly one of those guys. Do you listen to much electronic music?
My whole life, dude.
Really?
I'm 39, and I got introduced to electronic music when I was 8 years old.
Uh-huh.
I've been listening to it my whole life. That's my I was raised and trained studying classical music and big band music. I started studying big band when I was 5
Mm-hmm.
and 6. That's when I learned how to kick a big band and do all that stuff, which I suck at now. I'm never going to do a sight reading big band gig. I would fail miserably.
Oh, God,
but I love big band.
Yeah.
Not my bag, not my thing. But yeah, the moment, because I even got into, because I am like an 80s baby, and I was coming out of like, what was happening from the jazz world, pushing into the rock movement, not rock and roll. We had the jazz and the rock and roll thing, and then like rock. And then it was kind of like almost like the fuck the world rebellion, let's have fun, jam, Woodstock thing. And then all of a sudden the 80s happened. Yeah. And it was like a lot of synths and synthetic, because electronics and analog shit was really banging, and people are like, dude, anything that's electronic, we're just putting in a song.
Totally.
There's going to be a drum fill for no reason, just because we have the technology.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it was the hair bands.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what was banging. So
totally.
But they were using some of that stuff in the hair bands, because I remember when I was about 7 years ish old, there was Don't Need Nothing But a Good Time, right?
Yeah.
Poison.
Yeah.
And there's a drum break that went, and then a guitar came in. And when I was a little kid at first, I thought it was a magic drum kit. And then I realized by like kind of yelling into the snare drum and like bringing my hands across it, I could make that effect.
Oh, interesting.
So that's when it happened. It was just like at an early age, screwing around, not knowing if I should do that or not. I just did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of adapted that the rest of my life. So yeah, the moment I got into house, and then I immediately, because Detroit is just a couple hours away, man. Everything that was happening, because I'm the youngest of 5, there's a 21-year gap. Damn. Between me and the eldest. 21 year,
wow.
20 year, 16 year, and then 7 year. So I was exposed to all of that music the moment I was born.
Wow.
So that really helped develop me So I was learning, Van Halen shit and Journey and Kansas and Boston and then Poison, Guns N' Roses, everything by ear or jamming with my brother, but it was all cassette tapes. I made my own shows, fucking throwing on makeup and fake hairspray and shit, trying to perform on a stage that my brothers built for me down in the basement. Nice. And then the other side was like learning how to be like the Cure and Robert Smith and learning to be a depressed emo kid and shit at a really young age. Yeah. So I immediately loved all that stuff. I mean, really my favorite genres of music, like the entire electronic music world, or I remember Johnny Rab coined IDM, intelligent dance music.
Nice.
And I really like that. So shout out to Johnny Rab.
Yeah, for sure.
And when I was getting older, 9 Inch Nails, Trent Reznor.
Of course.
When I was 14, he was my hero. I wanted to be him. He, to me, was the most amazing, like, producer, writer, sound effect, white noise, industrial dude out there.
All of it, yeah.
It blew my mind. And every drum part, like, what is it, March of the Pigs or whatever?
Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I was like, what is this? And it was aggressive and it grooved. So then Trent Reznor was someone I focused on. So, like, yeah, electronic music has seriously been my biggest influence. And it wasn't cool really until the last 5-7 years. I had so many people dog on me and hate on me, especially in the jazz world when I'd try to break out some of that shit.
Oh, I bet.
They would get so pissed at me.
Yeah.
I did, and I still haven't recorded it yet. I won't say what track it is, but there's a really, really popular song that you can vibe in 3/4 or 6/8 or play, kind of an up-tempo 4/4 over top of it. So I have like a drum and bass version of this jazz standard, and I did it in front of a bunch of like jazz heavyweights, and they hated me. They're like ready to just like get their pitchforks and stab me,
I know. In the academic world, the preservation of jazz seems to lead to kind of a startling closed-mindedness from what I've experienced.
It's silly. And then it's like, okay, so you know how to recite other people's shit?
Yeah.
Good for you. When do you have a voice or an opinion or something to say? Like, because you study someone else's shit, now you can say you're a jazz person? No. Right. You need to go out, go have some drunken wild nights or whatever it is, go tour, go write, go rebel. Go play, 10,000 hours and start playing till 7, 8, 9 a.m. in the morning type stuff. And that's the jazz. Like you talked to all the jazz players that I grew up loving, like their whole thing, the reason is that they stuck out is because they had something raw. A lot of times people were turning their heads saying, I don't like that, or they're just too fast, or they're too something. And now we say, wow, that was one of the most amazing players that ever existed,
Right.
So you're going to get hated on if you're doing something new and unique or different.
Right.
You see it online, you see it anywhere, and that's usually a sign that you're doing something cool.
Right. All right. It's interesting, again, kind of reverting back for a second to sort of the modern ways to alter acoustic drum set sounds. Because, I mean, if you think back to like Buddy Rich and Gene Krupa playing those big kits, big open tune kits, then you get Bonham, and then you kind of have like the Carmina pieces, and then those other guys within the rock world that I think were influenced by those guys. And then on the jazz side, you have the Tony Williams and the Elvin Jones and those guys that tuned their stuff real high, played small kits, tuned high.
Well, then Tony then went to that double bass drum era for a while and did the 3 floor tom thing.
Right.
Which was crazy too, but then he would rock this straight up bop kit, which he did for a long time and just murdered it.
Of course.
Same thing with Billy.
Sure.
Billy Cobham, man, he always just murdered like the small kits, and then all of a sudden he gets to this big, beautiful kit, and you're like, whoa. And he has a lot of that higher tuning stuff.
Right, for sure.
It's a different range than electric guitars and stuff. It cuts through all that.
Right. But I mean, you know what I'm saying? People weren't putting cymbals on snares and playing trash can lids and really like drastically altering the sound of the drum set.
But here's the thing though. This is the thing that confuses me. Just before the drum kit was like really the thing, like not saying like the low boy, but I mean, we had like our trap kit and then like the drum kit kind of happened, I guess you could say. Our 4-piece, with the elevated hi-hat versus the low boy. The trap kit was what? Bells, whistles, cranks.
Right. Weird
shit.
Cowbells.
All weird shit. That's all it was. And then the moment we got the drum kit, everyone just ran away from it.
All right. That's true. Yeah.
So what the fuck happened there?
Well, I guess we're reverting back to it.
And now it's coming back. I mean, that was the thing I saw immediately is like, I remember listening to Buddy Rich's solo, Traps the Wonder Boy. I don't even know how old he was in this recording, but he's probably like, I don't know, 6 years old or something, and it's disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Makes you cry.
Yeah.
Because he's probably fucking tap dancing too.
Yeah.
And so much was happening up until then. We were the noise makers. We were the movie makers. We were used even during when you could get some sound with movies. We were there to generate the sound of the horses or a fight or in the excitement. We were the Foley artists, right? We were the ones in the pit for the orchestra and the musicals and stuff. We had always been that. And then immediately the drum kit comes up and people are like, oh, well, I play drum kit or I play, congas and tabales.
Right.
Why can't we do all of it?
Sure.
Why is it wrong to have a timbale on your drum kit and put a whistle on your, like, come on, like, what the heck happened? So I think part of what I'm seeing, some people are like getting hip to it because it makes it want to be different and cool and innovative, but there's other people are realizing like, oh, we got to dig into our history and where we came from to understand our roots and foundation and where we're going to go from here.
Right.
Well, a lot of players right now all sound the same. They're geniuses, whether they're like 5 years old or they're like 20 years old. But no one's finding their voicing. And
right.
Part of that is because they haven't found the heritage of where these voicings came from. Where did these rhythms come from? What country or continent did they come from? When did they come birth into certain countries or North America,
Mm-hmm.
That helps you really find your roots and to try to kind of be a bit more authentic to understand rock and roll versus rock music.
Sure.
Or 70s rock versus 90s rock.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Big difference.
Yeah.
With the attitude and everything. So, and the feel and the sound and
100%.
the gear.
I love 70s rock. I talk about it all the time. I've got 500 plus records, and I'd say at least 2/3 of them are probably from about 1969 to like 1977.
What are some of your favorites?
I love everything from like the early 70s stuff, like Wishbone Ash. I love that stuff because I think they toured with the Allman Brothers. So the Allman Brothers were always something that I absolutely loved. But I love like the kind of proto stoner stuff with like Cactus. I love that early ZZ Top stuff.
ZZ Top is great.
Yeah.
I really dig ZZ Top, man.
And of course, I've got all the Zeppelin records. Of course, the Hendrix records. But even to like mid to late 70s stuff like Foghat or like Rainbow.
Yep. Dude, Foghat.
Foghat rips.
Damn.
Fucking rips.
Dude, if they were out now on the jam band circuit,
yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, they'd be smoking everybody.
Oh, yeah. Seriously, I think about that, and like with like bands even too. Like I think about not to like totally turn, but like Yes, some of these other groups like coming out now. If they would have just came out and banging on like Electric Forest, Bonnaroo, and all that, people would just be like, "What?"
Yeah, absolutely.
Who beamed down the mothership and put these people on? Because they were ahead of their time. That stuff, I couldn't imagine being to go see their show.
No,
I guess is what I'm saying. Could you go back in time to see that? Not now. You're like having a beer, you smoke a doobie, and you walk up into that, and your face would melt.
You know nothing about it. I've joked about it. There's a King Crimson record live in U.S., so I think it was during like the Red album cycle, but it was definitely like the John Wetton, Robert Fripp, Bill Bruford era, and it's a live record. I have it on vinyl, and again, I believe it's called Live in U.S., and whenever I listen to that, I cannot even begin to wrap my head around it that there were definitely people in that audience who knew nothing about it, like you're saying, had some drinks, smoked some weed, and were like, we're just going to go check out this show. And then you walk into that shit? Fuck, man.
Yeah, that's life-changing. That's like, if you're not a music connoisseur or you don't really get music or you're not even really into like vibes. Yeah, you walk into something like that, and yet that changes your life.
100%.
I remember like a life-changing experience that really... It was my first time that music made me actually cry, like pure joy, not because I was feeling sad like a little kid or something, or like losing a girlfriend. This was like I was about 16, 17, and my mentor at the time, I still can still call him my mentor now.
Yeah.
Probably gets annoyed. Dorico Watson, he's an amazing drummer, amazing person. He was from Muskegon area. He's out in Seattle now, lived in Nashville for a long time, but he was playing with Victor Wooten.
Oh, wow.
And Victor's like just one of my biggest influences and inspirations ever. I just love him so much. And I had checked out some of his stuff and was like, wow, this guy's incredible, and already knew his level of musicianship and stuff. But then I went to see him. He played with the big band a little bit and like supported the big band of the high school. And then the second part of the show, he started as a soloist, and then just him and Dorico went at it. Dude, the first 10 minutes of his performance, I cried. It was the most amazing, beautiful, life-changing, elevating thing I'd ever experienced. I had never witnessed anything. I thought it was like an illusion, trick, magic, voodoo on how he played, how he communicated with the audience, whether with his body, with his music, with his movements, with his eyes, or with his mouth, with language. Everything he did, he just sucked you in.
Sure.
He was like a beautiful vortex vessel, and it changed my life.
Yeah.
You know, and I get that, and I can't imagine. I've had moments like that too, where I've just seen that, and it's like, whoa. So yeah, life-changing things, man. There's bands like that, and I feel you. The 70s had a lot like that for me, and I go back. I really love a lot of the 90s.
Oh, absolutely.
I think the 90s really had, because again, what I liked about the 70s is that there was room to be loose and to show that you had musicianship. You could show off or be a little technical here and there and have some thought music, but you can also vibe and jam out.
Sure.
But there were guitar riffs.
Totally.
There were backing vocals.
Oh, yeah.
There might be a little drum and percussion break.
Sure.
Or a breakdown and everyone sings together and claps their hands, you know? And then it kind of moved away a bit from that, you know, in the 80s hair band, because you focus more so on like the lead vocalist and then this band that just kicks ass,
right,
with ripping guitarists and double pedal and stuff, you know. And it was more about a show and entertainment, and that's cool, right? It's Hollywood. But then the 90s kind of said, no, we're going to push that around, and we're going to, you know, wear Doc Martens and holes in our jeans, and we're going to write guitar riffs.
Yeah.
You know, think about how many Pearl Jam or Alice in Chains, or even my Ringo star for me is Dave Grohl.
Of course.
He wrote beautiful drum parts. And you can memorize his drum parts by what he played, by what fill he did, or what kick-in he did.
Sure.
His part for Heart-Shaped Box.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. I'll just pull that up and I get goosebumps going, you son of a bitch. That is such a perfect part.
Right.
And for anyone who's out there listening, just check it out. He does this great cross sticking, you know, doom doom ga doom 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 doom, and the floor tom part, cross sticking snare drum. I'd love to just pull it up. That or just even his kick in to Smells Like Teen Spirit.
It's unbelievable.
Bloom.
Of course.
All of it. It's just signature stuff. But anyways, not to get totally off track, but people did signature things. Mm-hmm. Even by their bands, you could tell like what their vocalist was, or what if they had one guitarist or two guitarists, if there's harmonies, complementing parts. And there's still musicians were really kind of, they were being groomed. I felt like, I don't know this for a fact, but it felt like producers and engineers and labels were trying to groom musicians to make sure they got a product done and finished, you know, and that it would be marketable. But the musicians really were the forefront of the writing of the music.
Totally. I mean, you mentioned the 90s, and it's something that I talk about all the time. 1991 alone, if you look at the diversity of output from that year, I mean, grunge was breaking, so you have Pearl Jam 10, Nirvana Nevermind, you have Bad Motorfinger from Soundgarden. Then on, like, the other end of the spectrum, you have, like, Fishbone's Reality in My Surroundings, Primus' Sail to Seize the Cheese, Mr. Bungle's first record.
Mr. Bungle.
Red Hot Chili Peppers, Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
Chili Peppers, just... Fire. Holy cow. Spin Doctors.
Spin Doctors was even coming out, I believe, in 91 as well. Yes. And then you have like the hip hop that came out that year. You have Tribe Called Quest, Ice-T, Public Enemy.
Tribe. That's one of my all-time favorites is Tribe.
Yeah. And then you have like bands even out, like further out, like Jawbox and Fugazi, or you have the Jesus Lizard and Melvins put out records that year. So it's like you can look at 1991 alone and just spend forever looking at the diversity of that year.
The whole punk world, like No Effects and Screeching Weasels and like all that too. And then there was that ska movement, but there was just so much popping and happening. And it really revolved around live music, live musicians,
Yeah.
thought to the arrangements,
Yeah.
as well as to the performances. But the songs were just great. They stand the test of time.
Totally.
They really do. Like I listen to that. Like you could tell, like, okay, the ska thing and all that, or like, the swing thing happened for a little bit. You had like the big bad Voodoo Daddy, Cherry Poppin',
Of course.
stuff and all that. That was actually fun.
It was fun.
Cool. It was fun, but it didn't last long. But yeah, that Pearl Jam Smashing Pumpkins, dude, Jimmy Chamberlain.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Come on now.
Smashing Pumpkins Gish came out in 91 as well. Oh, yeah. And Lollapalooza was a great vessel for all those bands because, like, in 92, I remember the Chili Peppers, I believe, headlined that. But prior to them, Ministry played. And Ministry had just put out that Psalm 69 record. And, man, that band was just absolute fire. I don't know if you ever saw them in the early 90s, but they were as good a band on the face of the planet. And then even like more bizarre, next year, so I guess that would have been 93 Lollapalooza in New Orleans, Rage Against the Machine opened and Tool followed them. Those were the first two bands of the day.
Oh, no, man.
I saw them in broad daylight.
Yeah. Those are, Tool and Rage, forever. Tom Morello.
Of course.
The rhythm section.
Absolutely.
Tool, come on.
Yeah.
Come on, man. That's, I could like, I've been wanting to do this and categorize, like, just for me, of like character development as a player in music and stuff. And it also comes a part of your personality too, is like who developed you at certain times that you never even got to work with. Like,
sure.
I was visiting and I got to see Neil Peart's last kit.
Wow.
That he touched and played with the sticks, the heads, everything not touched.
Oh, wow.
And like, I walked in, it was emotional dude, it was like literally angels were shining down on this thing. And I sat there and just like, I couldn't help but cry. Because I'm like, this dude affected millions of people.
Yeah.
As a drummer, as a performer, as a writer, as a human. And he gave birth to a lot of us to have, like, there's only a few drummers along the way that kind of started to say, oh, drummers can be a band leader, they can be an actor, they can be a writer, they can be a comedian, they can be on talk shows. He was also one of those guys,
right.
And he wrote parts. He was a different side. You have a Neil Peart, you have a Ringo, or you have a Dave Grohl, you have a Danny Carey.
Of course. People
who are thinkers and develop these things that really, really matter.
Mm-hmm.
And Neil was someone who taught a lot of us how to play something that's very thought out and really matters.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing that was like, holy cow. I just couldn't see it. I was like sitting here and all the tour cases were there. I touched them. I still smelled 40-year-old cases that had just been around. I just sat there and I was like, this is something I'll never forget the rest of my life. And this human touched all these people.
Yeah.
And there's just players like that shaped me. And Dave Grohl is one. Believe it or not, Matt Chamberlain is one. Matt Cameron.
Oh, absolutely.
Is one. Jimmy Chamberlain is one. Danny Carey.
No doubt.
A lot of these 90s drummers you could tell. You'd be like, that's Matt Cameron or that's Jimmy Lee Chamberlain. Or most of the time you knew him because of the band. But even some of the studio cats, you knew if it was like Joey or someone like that on a record. So, yeah, it was just really unique where people as players and as bands all had very individual stuff happening. The drummers could be clinicians and educators and speakers and studio musicians, engineers and writers, and they had a sick band.
Totally.
That's kind of what was my upbringing. So I was like, wow, you got to do a lot of shit to make it, as a musician. That was my thinking. I was like, wow, these guys work so hard. These guys and girls work so hard.
Yeah.
And MTV did music.
Right. It was an actual music channel.
And it showcased. There was MTV1 and MTV2, and they showcased shows and upcoming performances and acoustic breakdowns and interviewed artists about where they're writing and what they're writing and what they're eating. It's just different.
Yeah.
It's different. We get to say, man, back in my day, it was different.
Right.
Uphill both ways.
Yeah. You mentioned Matt Cameron, and I'd always sort of cite him as being one of the greatest sort of odd time guys. If you look at the tracks from the 90s that were on the radio. I mean, Alice in Chains had one in Them Bones. That might have been an odd time one.
Yeah,
but
maybe. Yeah.
Soundgarden had a lot of transitions that were odd times, a lot of odd phrases, a lot of odd stuff. And Matt Cameron always made that shit groove. And then couple that with you have this amazing performer, vocalist, lyricist, songwriter, and Chris Cornell, and it's just like,
yeah, I got goosebumps. You just talking about those two right there, because I'm like, that's just too much talent.
Yeah, right.
Just one of them is too much talent.
Them.
Two of them together,
unbelievable.
Just too much, man. It's just too much.
Yeah, dude. Well, let me ask you this. You're a guy that appears to have some good chops, and you, again, use them in creative ways. Has it always been a sort of balancing act for you to pursue the technical aspects of maybe hand technique and then couple with sort of just playing naturally and playing musically, you know? Because that's always a struggle, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, to be honest, in the beginning, when I was young, from when I started taking lessons till I was about, 18, I did whatever I was told, because I was just under the impression like, if someone's older than me and they're my teacher, then I listen to them. That's what I do.
Right.
So if someone said you only play German grip and you squeeze down and this is the proper technique, then that's what I would do. But then when I kind of broke away and started to kind of experiment with life and figure out things, I started to realize, there aren't straight lines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You don't move straight, you move forward. Mm-hmm. Our body is a wave in its motions. And immediately I was like, there's something way more to how music should be played. Because for the most part, I mean, we were able to play with our hands and our body for thousands and thousands and thousands of years with no problem. Mm-hmm. We could hit stuff with idiophones, whether it's our hands or two sticks together, or to also hit them on the membrane of phones and whatnot. Mm-hmm. No problems. And then all of a sudden we get drumsticks in our hands and rock music, and you move into the 80s, now the 90s, into now. Everyone has carpal tunnel, right. Tendinitis, tennis elbow, shoulder problems, back problems, hip problems. Yeah. Like, okay, so that's where I'm like, okay, we are doing things wrong.
Yeah.
You can do things wrong and still get like results that'll mm-hmm. work. You can be an asshole and still make a ton of money. Yeah. You can be a good person and make a ton of money. You can be an asshole and make no money, and you can be a good person and make no money, right? Or you could the other way, be an asshole, make a ton of money, be a great person and get the shit out of the stick that your entire life.
Right.
Technique is very much that way. From what I understood, I have dug so deep into so many people and nerded, and that's what a lot of stuff we've been documenting and filming and stuff. Someone who really everyone needs to know, and I can't wait till this stuff gets out, is Don Lombardi. Mm-hmm. Is the literally fountain of wisdom of all technique, universal technique. I have learned so much from him, especially from last year until now, like Skyping, talking, phone conversations, links and videos he sends me, things we've been working on. He's changed my life.
Drum Yoda.
He is a effing drum Yoda. And I just told him, I said, you are talking and sharing stuff that no one is talking about, and you have to share it. Yeah. So that's part of something that's kind of, might be in the works there.
Nice.
So I've been learning all this stuff, and it is really just seeing your body as, okay, you can see your body as a train, right, on your hinges and how you move. You can see your body as a massive whip. You can see your body as a big vessel. But over and all, you have to understand the lines, the angles of how your body works to the playing surfaces that you are playing on.
Yeah, for sure.
And that every single technique absolutely has to be different to every person, to every gear, to every style of music, to every stick. Mm-hmm. There's no German, French, American bullshit. Mm-hmm. Flat out. And I'm going to be very adamant about this from here on out, very vocal. There's a lot of people teaching the wrong stuff, and I have done it too. I'm very guilty of it, especially looking 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, especially. What I have learned and what has been documented, what I have researched, man, there is some amazing stuff that I am just pissed that we're just not shown this right off the bat. Mm-hmm. If we were just saying, hey, here are these things, this is how you set up to understand your body in relation to music, mm-hmm. not just drumming or technique. Sure. Your body as the instrument, connecting with the other part of the instrument. It's like you plugging into a wall, right, to get your electricity going or to turn on your toaster. That's the interaction we have with our body, the sticks or brushes, and the drum kit. If you see it that way, it is very musical, and it is very amazing. And there's so much we can do with our body that we're just not told to do. And that's why we have all these problems. So when it comes to technique, everything I'm teaching, everything I'm kind of preaching has nothing to even really do with like any style of music or anything. Everything I teach you can adapt to anything. I think it even helps with playing bass or guitar, singing. I'm learning because I'm getting into that. Breath work. Technique to me is really important if you want it to be, because it can change. You can be tense and aggressive and have blisters and be shedding blood and be able to play like Buddy Rich, or you can be like Buddy Rich and know the tricks, the secrets, the magic of gravity and action, reaction, and negative space, and adjusting yourself to different angles to allow different falls, right? And that's what Buddy did. That's why he was a magician.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. It's funny how it's hard to talk about technique, or at the very least hand technique, and not talk about Buddy Rich.
Well, foot technique too, man.
Right.
No one talks about his foot technique.
Right.
And then just in general, everyone who's talking about foot technique, like, and it's true, we all teach heel down the wrong way.
Yeah. No one ever taught me foot technique. That's something I've only recently been trying to stumble upon, and I've been struggling because I started doing double bass, and I played heel down for 20 some odd years, and then started playing heel up like I would my hi-hat, but the hi-hat action was different for the pedal, and the voicing is different. So it's like I have a hole in my brain that will not allow me to just become, this fluid double bass player.
Yeah, don't worry that I'm actually working on double pedal now because because of this stuff that I've been learning, and it literally all of this stuff literally is broken down to motions and falling from how your body works. But example, okay, what type of shoes do you have on right now?
I don't have shoes on right now, but when I play, I prefer.
You're barefoot right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you put your bare foot down on the pedal, your heel is touching the base of what they call the heel plate, correct?
I'm a little off. I have a size 13 foot, so I'm a little off of it.
Yes or no? Like your foot is all the way down?
Yes.
Yes. That is not heel down. The foot pedal was designed for people who wore heels.
True.
Dress shoes.
Right.
Okay? So when your heel is down, you would have how much space?
Oh, yeah.
You're elevated.
Right.
Okay. So heel down with normal shoes is at least a half an inch above the heel plate.
Yeah.
If you have your heel down, that is a rest position and a feathering or ghost note position. The moment you bring the heel slightly up to where your heel, if you were wearing heels, dress shoes, now think about how your body will work. Way differently. If you're playing barefoot or with your socks or indoor soccer shoes, flat, soled, all heel down all the way, what happens to the outside of your shin? Fucking hurts.
Yes, it does.
It burns. It's not natural. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So we just right there, I would say 99.9% of the world has been taught the wrong way about heel technique.
Interesting. Damn, man.
So you have to be aware of the pedal, the beater, the weight, the porthole, no porthole, the stuffing, the vent hole, what type of pedal, solid base, not solid base, strap, spring, direct, heels, no heels. Then you have to break it down to the throne. The drum throne is wrong because we built drum thrones to be manufactured quickly. The original drum throne was a solid piece. Buddy Rich always sat on that. Why? Because it's solid as fuck and it's not going to go anywhere, so you can throw your balance however you want. What's one of the things that gives away immediately on a drum throne? The seat.
Yeah, for
dude.
sure.
They always wobble. They always come undone. So
Yeah.
what are you doing every time? You're fighting your balance the entire time you're playing.
I tell you, the ones that fuck with me, and nothing against the manufacturer of them, but the spring-loaded one where when you sit,
I don't like those at all.
It completely fucks everything. I cannot play with them.
That's so bad for you. It's so bad. That's just, and it's messing up your balance.
Yeah.
Again, you need to sit. I just found this out because I was saying, well, I want one of those. Where can I find a vintage one that like Buddy used to sit on? And then I was peeking around and then saw that DW makes them.
Nice.
So I've ordered one, and I'm going to get two because I want one for my house and then one, and it adjusts, and it's just a solid. You can even store stuff inside of it, and now you're sitting on it. It still has like the nice cushy drum throne, but it's a cylinder, solid down.
Yeah.
Now you can pretend you're boxing. You can throw your upper body. You can lay back and let your lower body dangle. You can plant. Now you're dancing. Now you're boxing. And now you are free to use your upper and lower body the way it is meant to be.
Sure.
So that's where we're having a lot of issues. And if anyone wants to fight me about it, I will go toe to toe. Because I've been asking everyone too, what are your number one problems? And everyone says the same fucking thing, but then no one addresses it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I see certain people who are doing these things, but they're not aware that they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you're able to play that fast, because you're actually doing this thing. Look at your hinges. Look at your gear ratios right now. That's why you're doing it. You naturally just do this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some like Buddy and some of those people figured that out and just kind of naturally did some of this stuff.
Yeah.
The rest of us schmucks got to figure it out.
I know, right? Well, going back to beyond hand technique, from just watching you play, you seem to have a pretty good bit of independence and being able to play sort of, you know, some linear sort of ostinato, separate independent patterns and whatnot. And I know I didn't really do independence exercises per se, but I did study like Afro-Cuban stuff, and the interpretation of that on the kit forces you to do that anyway, and it's done within a musical context, so I think it's a good way to learn.
Oh yeah.
Did you spend any particular amount of time specifically on sort of independence?
I did, and it's kind of funny. Some of it was from what I was taught because of, like, you know, the jazz studies, clang, clang, a dang, clang, a shabba doo, da ba ba doo, da da boom, da, you know, going through all that and the Ted Reed stuff and doing all that, and then starting to get into Latin music and just understanding, you know, it wasn't a poster back then, but like, you know, Tommy Igoe's like Groove Essentials, I think should be the 1 in the 2.0. Should just be Holy Bible for anyone who wants to play music for the rest of their life, either just for their life or for a living, because that tells you what you need to know. Mm-hmm. Versatility. And a lot of it is because I know when I tried Afro-Cuban stuff, I always felt like I was falling off a cliff.
Yeah.
Because I just felt like I was placing things not in the right way, because where it was not normal for me. So I just felt weird and off and wrong.
Totally.
You know, so yeah, I got into that. But then I discovered, you know, when I was like 14, I bought the 1997 Modern Drummer Festival with Virgil Donati.
Oh, God. That's another level.
That changed my life, because I was just still kind of playing double pedal at that time while I was everyone is still in the 90s kind of using double pedals for the end of songs and, you know, little kicker parts.
Yeah.
And you know, ticket. And then I saw Virgil and I was like, holy crap. You know, from Virgil, I discovered Thomas Lang. And then it was like those two I ate up.
Oh, those guys are crazy.
Learning all their stuff. But I never played that. Like, no one knows that I actually do that stuff. Not like them. I can't like them. Hell no.
I mean, I could tell that your independence was good. That's why I'm asking you about it. It's interesting that it ties back to those two guys.
It ties back to those two. And then the jazz stuff and the Tony stuff, the Billy Cobham stuff, the Buddy Rich stuff. And then I started just getting into the idea where I would put like an earbud on and work on a swing tune on the right side of my body, and then I turn on the radio and just pull up a song on the left side, and then I just put the left side of my body play that song.
Whoa.
So I just started like pulling up songs that don't match, things not in the key, not the same style, not the BPM, and I just started learning how to do that to challenge myself to hear it.
Wow.
Then I started challenging myself in my head. I would visualize my limb playing, you know, maybe it's a 1 EN, 2 EN, 3 EN, 4 EN. I visualize my hand playing that on the ride cymbal, right? As I'm meditating this and hearing it. And then I'll start singing the left hand part. I get all the parts up there in my head, hearing up, and then I turn them up and down, right? Like on my own mixer. Yeah, and I do it in my head, and then I'd get to the kit and do kind of the same thing. So you want it to work both ways. You got to hear it in your head, just like if you can't sing the start of a song, you're fucked.
Right.
You know, so it's kind of the same thing with independence. You got to be able to have it up here.
For sure.
It's not just a physical thing. I guess that's my biggest thing is for me. I remember seeing this quote in high school, and it was about skateboarding, and I identified with it because I think fucking skateboarding is awesome, and I suck at it, but I get inspired by skateboarders, snowboarders, surfers. I watch them. I'm a fan. Yeah. But it said skateboarding is 10% physical, 90% mental.
Say the same thing about fighting, like professional fighters, MMA guys and whatnot. Yeah, so much mental.
Same thing with technique. Same thing with music. You know, it's about what you got going ahead, how you can keep your head clean, how you prepare yourself mentally to perform or to connect, to communicate, how you're breathing, how you can get everything up here. Because you got to think, you got to create, you got to deal with your emotions, your good days, your bad days. You got to live life and have a story to tell. Because if you're just super talented and awesome and play a certain way, like eventually you're going to get older and it's not cute anymore.
Right.
You know, or eventually people are like, well, you do all that stuff, but we don't want to hire you because you can't play backbeat.
Sure.
Roundabout technique. I mean, for those, it's funny to me because people know me as a social media drummer or like an online drummer. And that's the last thing I'd ever consider myself because I play gigs. I play festivals or theaters, or I play a bar. I'll busk on a street. I teach. I write or record. I play a ton of percussion, auxiliary percussion gigs, and I do a lot of shaker, brush, kick, snare, hat shit. Like I'm a meat and potatoes, more like aspiring, trying to be a Steve Jordan, Questlove, Steve Gadd at most type of player, you know, is in a studio and as a side guy. And then when I go and do clinics or online shit, that's me just being Scotty, having fun on the drums and things I like to discover. And if you go and see me doing my groups, you'll see me doing all that weird shit. But it all applies to the venue.
Sure.
I'm not going to do extremely dynamic, sensitive stuff in an arena because it will not translate.
Right.
You do that in a listening room or a very nice theater where you can do a pin drop.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it in a studio because you can overdub or you have mics.
Right.
Everything has its place.
Yeah.
I think it was what a lot of people, I think if I could say anything to the younger generations, if you got, 250,000 followers and you're awesome at posting all your videos, get ready when you're busy because you got to communicate with humans and do rehearsals and people are going to tell you they don't like you and they don't like what you're doing and how you play and you have to learn to bite your tongue and, something I had to learn too. And so that's another part. People got to see a lot of shades to survive if you want to do it for a living.
Totally. Well, you strike me as a guy that's probably pretty high energy. How were you in school growing up? Because I was not particularly good myself.
I hated it, man. To be honest, like what I liked about school was like I was a peer assistant leader. I liked student council. I liked jazz bands. I loved choir, musicals, plays, marching band. I loved sports.
Yeah.
I loved like blood drives or community events or fundraisers. I loved meeting all the people and being friends with kind of like, because high school's cliques.
Yeah.
Like being, like with the goth kids to the jocks to the anyone. Like I love to bebop in between everyone and kind of be click fluid.
Click
right?
fluid, yeah.
Click fluid.
Yeah.
And I like that.
A social shapeshifter.
There you go. Yeah, that's it. I liked bonding with teachers, but I hate systematic schooling. I don't like when they say you have to say it is either this or that.
Yeah.
I did fairly well. I would have to have some tutors here and there just to get me to focus to finish projects because
I bet.
You want me to give a presentation, I would nail that shit.
Right.
Loved it. You want me to take this stupid test that's 125 questions of your choice of A, B, C, D, or E.
Yeah.
Come on, you are wasting my time. You want me to just repeat and regurgitate stuff and not show you I actually know how to use it or facilitate it?
Sure.
Or because I get anxiety during a test, now I can get a B instead of an A, and now I'm just not a great student.
Yeah.
And that's just stupid. I had so many friends that were kind of tossed to the side that were way too smart for their own good.
Of course.
Because of the schooling. And the music schooling was terrible, They're like, oh, you want to do music for a living? You can't do that. I had my school band directors and my counselors and my superintendent and vice principal telling me that I was a pipe dream, that I wanted to do music for a living.
Yeah. I bet.
I mean, come on. That's what I gave them, a big fuck you. And was like, great. Now, for no matter what, that's what I'm doing for a living, you know? The moment you tell me I can't do it, you just motivated me. So, yeah, I was high energy and I was active in everything. I went through school. I did my best to stay out of trouble and get decent grades and pass tests and, you know, at least have the option to be able to go to college, although I didn't want to at all.
Yeah.
And I loved the hang of school. I loved getting to know teachers. That stuff I liked.
Sure.
That's the stuff I learned that applied to business. But none of the stuff I actually learned in classes really ever applied.
Isn't that
you know,
funny?
like
I know.
Very rare. Speech and debate did.
Sure.
Things I learned by learning to be in the pit orchestra or actually learning to be part of the chorus in musicals. I learned a ton about life.
I've found that in talking to so many drummers thus far that it's a pretty consistent personality type that pre-drums or whatever, even to this day, generally kind of fidgety, anxious, high-energy people.
Oh, I was almost kicked out of every grade. Literally.
Yeah.
Because of my fidgeting. My parents, in second grade, my teacher was going to kick me out. And then they explained to me, and the teacher kind of just went cool. She thought I was like special or whatever. And then a second grade teacher was like fed up and was going. If I understand the story correctly, I might have like the teachers mixed up. Long story short, the next teacher was really fed up and was just going to put me away. Didn't want to deal with me. And my parents said, "Come over for dinner, and we'll explain to you what's going on." So she came over for dinner. My parents made her dinner, you know, with food that we raised from the garden and probably from cattle that we had raised and all this stuff. And then I gave her a concert and performed for her. And then she's like, "Holy shit. You're a young little talented kid."
Yeah.
And I like sang and dance and did the whole drum solo. And I played a drum solo with I put a stick in my mouth and played the drums that way and twirl sticks and shit. And now she's one of my biggest. I don't know if she's alive now, sadly. I've lost touch, but up until at least about 4 years ago, she would write me, you know, every couple of months, just saying that she's always thinking of me and glad that I never gave up.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a turn of events, huh?
Yeah. So, yeah, I was almost thrown out all the time, and it was hard to fidget. I do it now, or I always wiggle my toes. I do all my drumming and working out ideas, and it's bad for my teeth by kind of back moving my jaw areas.
Yeah.
Sometimes clicking with my tongue and then wiggling my toes inside of shoes.
Yeah.
It was so hard to teach myself to not want to drum the entire day.
I know. I hear you. I was constantly hearing it from teachers. And I would say if there was any indicative story about how I felt about school, my parents got the idea that they would pay me for particular grades. I think it might have even been like $50 for an A. I forget what. And it was like $10 for a C. And I was like, oh, so you'll pay me $10 for a C? I'm getting C's. I at least know. I was like, they couldn't even pay me to care.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I had to get motivated a lot by stuff like that because I just didn't like it. I mean, I remember I grew up, and I definitely had anxiety as a kid now when I look back, but like I grew up where we had still pretty much a self-sufficient farm with Arabian horses and cattle and like chickens, and then my dad had raised and bred exotic birds, and we had fucking monkeys, tortoises, dogs, cats, and I had a whole stage with a drum kit downstairs. I had guns and knives and matches, and I could run around and then you're telling me I got to go to school and put on all these freaking clothes and I can't speak. And you just have to be quiet, sit in a desk and not do anything.
Right.
Oh my God, that's torture.
That's hilarious.
Whoever came up with that is evil, man. That's like the devil's work right there. That's just terrible.
Oh man, that is too good.
I know I've been gabbing a lot. People have probably tuned out like the first probably 30 seconds. They're like, this fucking asshole again. He will not shut up.
No, man.
Yeah.
Well, before we go, man, you mentioned some of the stuff that you've been doing with filming and it coming out in what sounds like 22, 23, but we're still amidst 2021. So is there anything upcoming? Do you have are you getting back to playing gigs? What's happening for the rest of this year?
Well, I don't want to give away too much, and I don't want to give away too much of my secrets right now that I've been working on, but I have a new record coming out, my second one.
Nice.
And it's entitled Pegasus, after my dog Pegasus. And I got some super dope artwork with him and the crown and everything. So it's my shout out to him because he's been my ride or die homie. I basically say Pegasus and drumming is the reason I'm alive, man.
Yeah.
Like they keep me focused, they keep me drained, they keep me from any inner demons, or depression and stuff. That's what keeps me happy and going. And he's literally been the best blessing in my life. So he's a part of my record for sure. And he's on the record, and he's a boss. And it's going to be a play along as well, so you'll be able to get it minus drums.
Nice.
And it's going to be released under a certain publication. And I will have some lessons and a bunch of stuff actually coming out this fall as well.
Okay.
Really, really fun, deep stuff that I'm really proud of. And I'm really trying to be as honest and open about everything that I'm doing and giving the alternatives for people and not really pressing this is the one and only way, and more engaging about people's life and understanding their bodies and stuff. So I'm really trying to give not, like this is the Scotty push-pull thing. No, this is like just what I'm trying to understand and for things to take. Mm-hmm. So you can adapt them to your techniques now. And if you think it really starts working, then give me a call. Right. I'll help you out. If not, you can check out these courses and I promise you it'll work. And then I already have kind of my third and fourth records or EPs. I want to do short EPs in my head, ready to go. Yeah. And the artist, I just got to get the second one. We just have to line it up, master it, and then I'm going to release it on cassette and vinyl, and then, of course, streaming.
Nice.
Trying to take responsibility of being more a writer, more collaborating, more musical directing, and more producing. So I'm trying to find all these crazy talented people. Or I'm not finding them. I already found them. And, I still drum work-wise at least 50 hours a week, if not.
Wow.
On the higher ends, I'm 70 to 80 hours a week between tracking, teaching, sessions.
Damn, dude.
And tours. That's where I'm at. That's not practice. That's just where I'm at, and I'm fine with it. I've had to condition myself. I've cut a lot of things out of my life to be able to do that and be healthy.
Yeah.
So weed and coffee and clean water are my three things, along with tons of vitamins and supplements. And I pretty much gauge, I have a lot of control over the food that I eat and what goes into my body.
Absolutely.
Years ago, I'm like, man, I just smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day and drink, Jack Daniels and eat donuts. 15 years ago, I would have been saying that, and now I'm like, I'm like praying and doing meditation and yoga and stretching every day. And, just trying to stay healthy and positive, keeping the wheels turning, man. I want to be focused and motivated, and I'm looking up to, always being attracted and gravitating towards that, those type of people, like yourself. You got shit going on, man. I'm glad that you reached out to me and let me talk your fucking head off and drop F-bombs every 10 seconds, because that's who I am.
No problem. That's certainly what I do. Right on. Well, Scott, it was fun talking to you, man. I'm glad we caught up. Enjoy the rest of your day. Go on a hike, play some drums, climb a tree, play with the dogs, take a shower, drink some water, have some coffee, smoke some weed.
You got it. Yeah. Come to Michigan. Seriously. I'm just on the podcast. You are now have an open invitation to come and hang drum. I'll take you fishing, foraging, check out Third Coast Recording Company. Michigan is a fantastic place. Y'all can't move here and take my work, but you can come visit all you want.
There you go. All right, Scott, man, we'll catch up soon.
Peace.
All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Scott for ranting and rapping and being so entertaining. What the hell can I say? We'll catch y'all on the next one. Crash, bang, boom.